So basically, I'm going to take you through a journey, and the journey is going to be about 1,400 kilometers. And I hope to take you through that journey very quickly. It's not only through 1,400 kilometers, but it's also and all the way back. That is our journey. So I've just entitled the talk, Ye Though I Walk, that is taken from the book of Psalm chapter 23, verse 6. I think I have spoken to quite a number of people from church, and that was since last year, and some have been asking questions. I have not given answers, and I think today is the day that those that have ears can listen and get some answers and see that Ye Though I Walk from the book of Psalm is something that you can actually live in your life. So the journey that we're going to take started here in Cape Town, and it was supposed to end in Mpumalanga, somewhere there. And this was on the 25th of December last year. So around about 6 o'clock, we were leaving and going to Mpumalanga. So that is the stretch of the road. Basically, it takes about 14 hours driving from Cape Town to Mpumalanga. But as a family, we're traveling, me, my wife, and our son. So we'll drive every maybe 300 kilometers or every 3 hours, and then we would take a stop for about 30 minutes. So that would also add more hours of travel as you are going on, because you can't keep on going when you have a small child. You also need to take small breaks here and there for the child to be comfortable whilst driving. And so that was the journey, and that is where we were heading. And this was one of the stops where we stopped at a Caltex garage just to buy one or two things, and the journey was continuing. And you can see the small boy there. During the break session, seated comfortably and busy enjoying. He didn't know what was happening. All he knew was we're getting into the car, we are getting out, and that is all that he knew. So we drove all the way, and when it was around about 7:30, we were coming. This road comes from Sasolburg, and so the GPS was taking us through straight on this road to our destination. So this place, I'd been there before, and as we traveled, I began to see that we are now in a dirt road, a dust road, and I was very uncomfortable driving in a dust road, especially that time of the night. So we just drove a little bit inside the dust road, maybe like 3 to 4 kilometers, and then we decided to make a U-turn. And as we were making a U-turn, there was another car which was oncoming, which was also facing us, coming from the opposite direction. So that is where I made the U-turn, and then I turned back into this road. But I'm gonna dwell a bit more on there. So as you can see from this one, the GPS was still fine. So this is the part of the dust road that I was supposed to cover until I get to my destination, which was somewhere around there. But because I was not very comfortable in the dust road at night, so I decided to turn. So had I continued in the dust road, I would have ended up somewhere here. This is the dust road that I would have used until I got to this place here. And so I make my U-turn, and as I make my U-turn, that car which was coming from this direction, so I was driving from this direction going there, and this car was driving from this direction coming here. So as I made my U-turn, this car was now approaching us. It was close to us, and we were now facing the same direction. And there were torches being flashed from behind. So the first thing that I thought was, okay, this is the police. So I slowed down and I allowed the car to come close to me. So they just came on my right side and they said, stop this car, stop this car. So I opened my window and I said, I'm not comfortable stopping here. If you would like us to stop, we are comfortable going to the nearest police station. That is where I can possibly stop. And the response from the car was, if you don't stop, I will shoot you. So I just said, okay, well, this is it. So I slowed down a bit more and allowed them to move a little bit in front of me. And I saw that at the back, there was no number plates, and the car was occupied by mostly males, and they were wearing dark clothes. I couldn't see what they were. So immediately when I saw that, I just allowed their car to stop. So when it stopped, I took off. In my mind, I said, we are going to survive as a family, or we are going to die as a family. There was no way out. If we were going to get involved in an accident, we were just going to perish, all of us. Or if they were going to catch us, they were just going to kill all of us. There was no room for sacrifice there. So it was either we escape or we die, one of the two. So I took off. If you have ever seen Formula One driving, I practiced it that day. And I drove in a dust road as fast as I could until I got here. And then I turned to go into this direction. Remember, now you are in panic mode. It's a place that you don't know and you're just driving. So I drove and I continued, and I saw a billboard written Harry Smith. So I decided to turn, and then I turned into this road, thinking that I'm going to take an off ramp. But because I was doing possibly around about 180 to 200 kilometers an hour, and that car was still following behind. So by the time I got here, it was too late for me to decide that I'm going to turn. So I decided to carry on. And by the time I got here, it was also too late because I was pressing that car. So I went straight. This was a third road, and I said, okay, wherever it's going, I will go with it. So we saw some lights, and the first option that we had was let's go to a place that has lights. Let's go shout for help, and the people will possibly come and help us. So this was the first place that we saw lights on. And as we approached, we saw that it looked like it's possibly an industrial site or something like that. There is no activity. It's all a bit quiet. So I passed this one because that car was still following. And then I just followed on this road, and then I made a turn into this road. The next lights that we're seeing were around about here. So as we turned into this road, it had become a dust road. I think it had become a dust road from round about here as well. So we went in to this road, and it had just rained before, and it was soaking wet on the dirt road, and I was doing possibly 140 in a dust road, because we were just trying to run away. We could see those lights coming. And when I was maybe around about here, the car started swerving to the left, swerving to the right, swerving back to the left. And I think I hit something like a grid, and the car jumped up into the air. Right. And the only thing that I could say when I was driving was, Lord save us. That's the only thing that I could say, Lord save us, because the car was in mid-air and we were just going. So it went, and then we got stuck somewhere there. So basically, this is the place that we were going to try and ask for help. That was our option 2. And because it had rained, this was a water body, and there was water all over here, and there was also water all over here, and it was all muddy there. So what we did is I tried to go out through the driver's door, and I had hit into a fence, so I couldn't go out through the driver's door. So I had to open the passenger door because I was alone. My wife and my child were sitting at the back. So I opened the passenger door, and I got out of the car into mud. And then because the child lock was on, then I opened the door, passenger door at the back, and I took the child, and my wife also came out after. And then I said, let's go. So there was no time to negotiate. It was just, let's go. So there was a fence right here, and it was all filled with water, and we could see those lights now for that car which was still coming, approaching. So we ran across, and then we went under the fence into a pond of water. So we got soaked into the pond of water. And so I went in, and then my wife also came in, and then she went under the fence, and I was holding the child. And when she was on the other side of the fence, then I put the child literally into water, full body. He was half asleep, so I put him down into the water, and that's when he woke up because he was wet. And then the next time the mother was taking him, and I also crossed, and then immediately I took him and I just told him to be quiet. He didn't know what was happening. He didn't cry or anything. He was just shocked, and I just held him in my arms. And then we carried on running, and those guys were following. So our path was right round about this area, and there was an electric fence. So my wife touched the electric fence, she got a shock. I touched the electric fence, I got a shock. But because we really wanted to get help somewhere here, we were busy calling, but no one could hear us. And I even touched it a second time, and I also got an electric shock. So we continued moving because those guys were still pursuing us. And then we jumped a fence somewhere here. We jumped another fence somewhere here. And then we crossed, and then we also jumped a fence somewhere here. And we were hiding in these bushes for a very long time, until about 10 at night. We were just hiding in this bush. And mosquitoes were marauding. And those guys, they just went back because they were somewhere following us, but they went back when they were somewhere here, and we carried on, and we were hiding here. So we continued hiding until we were sure that possibly they were gone, and then we started to walk, and we came back to the road, and then we came here by the gate. And when we were by the gate, we saw that the intercom doesn't work. So we tried to shout, but our voices could not go even, I think, 3 meters. They could not even go even to say help, the voice could not even come out on its own. So we also sat down round about by the trees somewhere here. And then we saw a car which was coming from this direction. And then I was praying that, Lord, please send us someone that will help us. So when we saw a car coming from that side, I decided, let me go to that car and possibly wait for that car. And then my wife said, no, don't do that. Maybe it's those people, just sit. So we continued hiding. And the dogs were barking from here, but no one was even responding. So we continued there for the better part of the night. So remember, this is from about 8 p.m. It's already about 10, and we are just hiding. Mosquitoes are marauding there, biting us like no man's business. So from that point where we crossed into this forest, we came back here to try and seek for help. And then the next thing that I had to do was we had to look for the next set of lights. So the next set of lights was showing somewhere there, and this was our option 3. And remember, this is a farming area. This place might look as if it's very close to each other. It was quite a distance to walk. So then we decided, no, let's walk. It's already past midnight. Let's walk. So we started walking in this road, walking in water. I didn't have shoes on or anything. I didn't have a jacket. I just a t-shirt and some shorts on. And then we went in. And then when we started to go this side, there were 3/4 quarry stones, if you know what I mean. 3/4 quarry stones are sharp-edged. So we began to walk on the 3/4 quarry stones without shoes. It was painful to walk. Each step was very painful. But because we could see the lights, we carried on because we were able to see the lights. And we knew that if we only get to those lights, we might possibly get help. So we continued and we persevered through the pain. We went through, it took us time until we tried to go this side. We saw that it was the back of the house. And then we went the other side. This is where the gate was. And we rang the intercom. And then a voice answered. And then we told them what was happening. So this was at midnight. No one would believe you that what you're saying is true. They might think that you're possibly an intruder who's trying to do something. So my wife spoke to them, and after like another 30 minutes, we rang the intercom again. The guy said, I can't help you. The only thing that I can do is possibly to call the police. So we said, yes, we are fine. Call the police. We are not moving from here. We'll remain at this gate until the police comes. So we waited until maybe about an hour again. We called again, and he said, no, I called the police. They are coming. They will be on the way. So we spent a good time between these trees up to about 2 a.m. That is when the police finally came. We saw some lights, a police van and some red lights for emergency rescue, and we knew that help was on the way. But it was also taking time. As we could see them coming, it was even taking much longer for them. So we carried on waiting in that area. And then finally they came to us, and we started to talk with them, and they put us in the police car, and we were so cold. The baby had mosquito bites. He's allergic to mosquitoes. If mosquitoes bite him, he gets like pimples and things like that. So his face was all beaten all over, and we were just sitting there and waiting for rescue to come. So for you to be able to see what happened to the car, this is mud that you can see. And where there is the red line, this is half of the wheel that you can see on the top. The rest of the wheel is stuck in mud. It is stuck in mud. And as you can see much clearer there, the car is really stuck in mud. After flying, it just landed in the mud. And this is after the guys were pulling it after the police came to us, took us back to the site where we had crashed, and they were pulling the car out, and you can see the damage that was there. And they pulled the car out. It was quite damaged. And there you have it, coming out from that fence, very damaged. And then we drove into the night, and then we came to this place. There was a small service station where we stayed a little bit, trying to tie things together. There was a guy who was helping us just to tie things together so that the car can possibly move until my brother that we're going to see comes. And as you can see, this is the place that we were supposed to be. So from that place, we then left, we came to this place. As I showed you in the other image, it shows you this is the road that we're supposed to use and to get here. So this was the map of me moving around in that area. And when I came out of the car, this was now in the house around about 6 a.m. I just took photos of myself, and I think you can see that I've got mud all over. I just think of the image from Daniel chapter 2, iron mixed with clay. Though this is just flesh mixed with clay, this is how I was looking like, all drenched in mud and all dirty in the house. But I was in a safe place now. And just to make you see what happened to the car, this is a part which was broken on the car. That's the damage that was caused by the impact. This is part of the ABS, the braking system, that was also damaged during the crash. And as you can see, all mud in there, all this balancing roads of the car damaged. But the Lord also helped, and someone sent by God helped us to make sure that the car is restored. And if you see scratches on my car, this is the story of the scratches. This was from the fence. So it was put back like that by the Lord's provision, and we thank the Lord for that. And basically, this is my boy and my brother's child in the house. As you can see, if you look on his forehead, these are mosquito bites that you can actually see from him. And we also had fun whilst we were there. We went visiting. These are my relatives that were there, so we also had fun. I even had time to smile even after that. Quite a big smile that I would put there. You can see we're now at the airport. We're just saying farewell to this guy. My brother was leaving for Australia, and the family was there, everyone happy as usual. And there was his last photo that we took before he took his flight to Australia. We never know, by God's grace, we shall meet on this earth or not. We are going to meet in heaven. But this was the last we said goodbye. And then after that, we had to make the trip back to Cape Town. So we started from there and we traveled all the way to Cape Town. And this was on the way back. This guy was enjoying after all the escapade that he went through. He was enjoying there. And there we are parking the same car that we had an accident with. We are just moving. It looks all intact. And the Lord's provision, we took a photo of a sunset, and we were coming home and being home and dry. So it says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." We went through the valley of the shadow of death. We could have died. The trigger could have been pulled. The car could have rolled. Something terrible could have happened, but because the Lord was with us, we managed to survive. So even whatever you may face in life, it might be an impromptu event that happens. Never be afraid, because God is always with you. Even if you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, do not fear, because the Lord is with you. He was with me through this. And I like Psalms chapter 124. Right, Psalms chapter 124, it says, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side. Now may Israel say, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, when men rose against us, then they had swallowed us up quick, and their wrath was kindled against us. Then the waters had overwhelmed us. The stream had gone over our soul. And I'm just saying, if it had not been for the Lord who was with us just on that day, that trigger could have been pulled. That water could have drowned us. Something bad could have happened on that day. Then the proud waters had gone over our soul. Blessed be the Lord who hath not given us as prey to their teeth. Our soul is escaped as a bird out of the snare of the fowler. The snare is broken, and we are escaped. Our help is in the name of the Lord who made the heaven and the earth. This is just my story and the story of our family. And I'm just leaving this verse for you during this Vespers, that it does not matter what you may face in life. If you are on the Lord's side, the Lord will take care of you. May we be blessed as we worship the Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.